Well, most of you know I'm not Bob Luckner. He's not able to be here today. He had some surgery, so he's resting at home. And I'm going to just very briefly give you a little bit of what all has been going on from the standpoint of how Siesta Key Association has been involved. I will tell you that at least half of our board, which is about 6 people, have been, since the very beginning, very much involved on the ground, research-wise, writing, researching, talking, assisting in every way, because the coalition truly is a coalition. The person who wanted to start it was a single person. And he gathered us all together and to look at what is a reasonable way to approach the issues about what we call high density hotels. And many people, you probably heard people talk about boutique versus high density. And high density is not hard to imagine, except for when you look at what is built downtown in the city of Sarasota. And the really high-end ones are 16, 17, and sometimes 18 stories. Now, in between that, they have built-in structure in the middle. The difference between Lido Key, Lombok Key, and the city of Sarasota is, of course, Siesta Key. And for about 45 years, our overlay district and the rules about height in particular have prevented that from becoming our same kind of picture. The last 2 buildings that were built, most of you that lived here a long time, are the 2 terrace buildings that are at the end of the village on Ocean Boulevard. And it's important to know, they say, well, hey, this next one's just like that. What's the problem? The problem is that those 2 were built on property that since 1928 have been listed as an unrestricted use. When those lots were platted, it was called unrestricted use. It also included part of the area Whispering Sands, which has a higher condominium site as well. We changed all of that when we worked on the overlay district because we wanted to keep a lower profile environment that was a little more family friendly, invite people to come here, not make it all commercial like many of us who've lived in Florida or grew up in Florida. We've seen our beaches pretty much disappear. You can't drive a road and see many of them unless you go to some of the state parks. So the idea was for us to fight this was to say, look, we're not crazy people. We understand that hotels can be great. We all travel, we go places, we enjoy staying someplace that feels good to us. But we already have a lot of places to stay on Siesta Key. And we've been really perplexed because I've looked at the tax data up through the last 25 years for Sarasota County. I could show you the graph, but I don't want to leave the microphone. The graph shows through the years that the consistent best champion of creating tourist development has been, of course, Siesta Key. There's absolutely no doubt of that. And the county has found that it's important to make sure that they're capturing the money for that. They're working on places that may not be reporting their income. And maybe because of that, they don't realize how much we have out here. I don't really know the answer to that. But now we've added Airbnb, which allows home rentals, large home rentals. So we're growing in ways that nobody imagined. And when one hotel showed up, that was one thing. And now there's altogether 4. So what we thought we were going to be doing to work on one hotel situation, now it's 4. And that's a lot of work for people to do that don't have their full-time mind and body and work and income coming from that kind of work. And none of us do. We're all volunteers. So along the way, I want to tell you that we've had some great people join up to help us, not only from an advertising standpoint, people who understand that, but also that do the research, that have legal understanding of the years gone by. And we've had the opportunity to speak in a limited way to the people who are involved with the large hotel development. At this point, our main goal is to conserve our home island, is to conserve it so that people recognize it, number one, and number two, that they enjoy being here just like they always have. One of the things that's been the most interesting statistic, and maybe this is what everybody's been waiting for, is that during the 2020 year when COVID was bad and many people did not take their vacations the same way, we were literally tied with the city of Sarasota in terms of income from tourism. Now, if you think about the buildings and all the money that's gone into the city of Sarasota, think about that. And we, not having those kinds of hotels, did just as well, did amazingly well. But that's exactly what people who build tall hotels look at and go, whoa, we got to get busy. Because something's different about downtown in Lido than it is on Siesta Key. And they're right. People come here, many times generational people come here. We all know some of those people who own property, it might be a condo, and they've turned it over to family and they continue to be here and draw more people. So all we want to see really is the place being livable. And that includes things like safety, from the traffic, from the congestion, from the things that we all been trying to fix now for the last 10 years. We do have some help from DOT a little bit to try and calm some of the areas, but it's not going to help us if on the same period of time, we're adding another 500 rooms of turnover to our key. So that's been the worry. Now, what do? Well, we've said we're not against someone having a hotel, but why can't they abide by the governance of a barrier island? That's all we've really asked for, is abide by the governments that currently exist, that for barrier islands is not unreasonable. We've looked, we've done all the research with every other barrier island, Sanibel, the little places that have become towns. We've looked at all of it. And some of them were wise, and the minute they saw something happening, they incorporated and were able to maintain the environmental or the type of community that they really wanted. Sanibel is one of those examples. They got headwinds of big roads coming across the bay, and they decided now's the time, and that's why we have John Dane Darling and all the protections for the waters around that island. So this is why we've been busy. I just want you all to know, and we're not rabid anti-development people. None of us have ever said that. We've all said, hey, a nice little boutique hotel would be great. Something, you know, that would be charming, that your family could be in if you didn't have room for them. Something that's walkable, that has a place for everybody to be here. And there's a lot of examples of those types of hotels that make a lot of money. In fact, they have lots of proven solid statistics. So we're kind of worried because people see big buildings as having the ability to generate the most money. And yet, in fact, it doesn't appear that's true, given the hotel recovery rate of those big, tall hotels downtown and on Lido. They're not even half full, and yet they must maintain staff, full-time people, a ways to park. So maybe it's not such a great idea for people to build such big buildings. And do we need 4? I don't know about you, but that's been our biggest worry, is how are we going to live here and still have the family-friendly feeling that we have. The second big thing is accessibility. Dr. Beach named us #1 for a couple of different reasons, twice. Accessibility for people to get to the beach is really important. Most people know it's nice just to walk out your door and bike down or walk or get there easily. But what we're finding is only one of the hotels actually even is close to a beach access. And none of them, except for one, owns property on the beach itself. So if you are adding a lot of business, you're going to need to get those people to the beach. They're going to use the beach, but the reality is a lot of the beach is not public beach. So now we have a residential community that's owned their homes for generations. And I mean, way back to before, say, 1948. They were here already. And they have had a beautiful way of conserving their property, letting people use it if they walk by, not being selfish about it. But now those people are going to say, that's enough, and we're going to fence it. People are not going to be able to walk across our 5 acres here. And two of those big people are right by the tall building in the village, and they are not going to tolerate it. So what are you going to do with all these extra people? Well, where would they go? I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm for or against what they have to do, but when you start having people do harm to you, your family, your property, they could drown in your pool, and if you don't say you shouldn't be here, you're liable. These are the kind of things a lot of private property owners are now thinking about. And actually, a very small percentage of the beach on Siesta Key is actually public. And we've done that in a very good way. People have given land, bought land, sold it to the county. The county's made a good effort to try to create the public area. And now we're kind of worried that that's going to be going away. So if you have a way to help us, one of the ways, of course, is always to donate to the coalition itself. But go on to the website and you'll find some very good information. It's very fact-based. I don't believe we've been out of the universe kind of people about the land has to stay the same. We understand that things will change. But when we say high density hotels, that is the problem. It's not the small mom and pop places that we have. It's not a new boutique hotel. It is what is coming, and it's going to be a lot to deal with, especially where they're located. So keep posted. All of us have been involved in this. We've been working very hard. And you will, on October 27th, hear the first one come up before the Board of County Commissioners. And that is the one that is in the village. It's called Siesta Hotel 1, I think, as far as how they're labeling it. Yeah, on the Collier Miramar corner of Collier Miramar, which is barely even a one-lane road. And of course, Ocean Boulevard, as it turns into a curve right in front of Access 5. And if any of you know Siesta Key, that is probably one of the most frightening places to ever try to cross the road. There's been a lot of pedestrian incidents there. So we already know there's a lot of reasons not to do it. And so we're working on making sure that the commissioners, unlike the Planning Commission, attend to those things and say, let's stop and let's pause. Let's pause this. Or when we have never looked at a study that would affect the entire key all at once, basically, pause, let's stop and take a look at what's a better way to look at all of this. So we will see what happens, but please stay with us and look on the website at the information they have on the Siesta Key Coalition site.